All right, let's get right into this explainer. Today, we're going to completely demystify the Mangaung 2023-2024 Integrated Development and Public Planning Framework. Now, I know, that sounds like a massive mouthful of government alphabet soup, but trust me on this. By the end of our time together, you're going to see exactly how the gears of local government actually turn to shape a city. So let me ask you something right off the bat. Does your voice actually matter? Have you ever wondered if showing up to a local town hall or, filling out one of those municipal complaint forms actually changes where your tax money goes? Or is it just a bunch of bureaucratic red tape? Well, what we're looking at today absolutely proves that community input isn't just a polite suggestion. It is literally the foundation of how millions of rent are actually spent. You see, historically, government planning has suffered from what we call institutional silos. Think about it like a really chaotic orchestra. You've got the string section playing Beethoven, the brass section is blasting jazz, and absolutely nobody is looking at the conductor. That is siloed government. But Mangaung is shifting to an all-of-government approach. Basically, they're getting local, provincial, and national departments to finally play from the exact same sheet music. They're harmonizing their priorities instead of working in total isolation. Okay, so how do they actually pull this off? They use this thing called the District Development Model, or DDM for short. You can think of the DDM as the ultimate silo buster for Mangaung. It creates what they call the One Plan, which forces vertical and horizontal alignment. It brings together local municipalities, provincial departments, national government, and even state-owned enterprises. The whole idea boils down to four beautiful words: one plan, one budget. Instead of a bunch of competing projects, everyone pools their resources into a single, joint strategy for the whole metropolitan space. Now, a plan on paper is great, but it's really just a piece of paper unless you have a motor driving it, right? Enter the technical IGR forum. IGR stands for Intergovernmental Relations, and please don't let the formal name fool you. This is not just more red tape. This forum is the actual engine driving all of this joint planning. It formalizes cooperation with very strict rules and procedures, so it basically guarantees that all these different levels of government actually sit down at the table, play by the rules, and get the job done together. So this one plan has what they call a theory of change, which acts as the macro blueprint for the entire city. And it's built on 6 major transformations. 2 absolutely critical ones are economic positioning, which is all about making the local economy super competitive, and spatial restructuring. Spatial restructuring is fascinating. It's basically about environmental sustainability and designing more efficient settlement patterns. They are quite literally looking at a map of the city and completely rethinking how people live and work to make it all more sustainable. Let's look at how this actually plays out on the ground. Back in May 2023, the city held these massive coordination engagements. They brought in the state-owned enterprises, local businesses, and government departments to really hammer out the details. And these meetings successfully locked in some major provincial contributions. We're talking about the Department of Education stepping up to build schools, the Department of Water and Sanitation committing to actual pipeline projects, and the Department of Public Works launching community work programs. This is the one plan in full effect. But hang on, how do they actually decide where to put a new pipeline or where to start a community program? This is where we zoom in from the macro level right down to the micro, community level. And it is driven by Section 42 of the Municipal Systems Act. So involving the community isn't just a PR stunt to make people feel good. It is a strict legal requirement. The law explicitly says the community must be involved in setting key performance indicators. The government legally has to ask you, the citizen, what a successful year looks like. So let's track the actual journey of a citizen's complaint to see how this works in the real world. Step 1 kicked off in August 2022 with multi-platform engagement. This was all about casting a wide net using the municipal website, virtual platforms, and press publications to gather those initial thoughts. Step 2 moved into physical public hearings throughout February and March of 2023. That's where people actually showed up in person to voice their concerns. And finally, Step 3 is ward-based submissions, where ward councilors take all those specific aspirations, package them up, and send them straight to the city manager's office. And this brings us to what they call community aspirations. The city manager's office doesn't just look at a list of complaints in a vacuum. A huge part of this process involves comparing current needs against previous cycles. They are looking across all 51 wards to identify shifting priorities and figure out what is most urgently needed right now. It's this massive, deeply important data analysis effort to prioritize the immediate, lived needs of everyday residents. And the results of that analysis? Well, they paint a pretty stark picture of shared community struggle. Literally 100%, all 51 out of 51 wards, complained about sewage spillages. Another 100% complained about roads and stormwater, so we're talking potholes and blocked channels. And right behind that, 88% of the wards flagged solid waste issues, like refuse removal and illegal dumping. It is an undeniable snapshot of exactly what the people of Mangaung are dealing with every single day. Okay, so when literally every single ward in your city is demanding better roads and sanitation, what do? Well, the municipality implements a strategy-led budget. The planning framework takes those universal, incredibly clear demands from the ground level and translates them into funding for actual solutions. So the budget isn't just a spreadsheet thrown together in a back room somewhere. It is directly led by the strategy of fixing exactly what the citizens demanded.
Let's talk numbers, because this is where the rubber meets the road. 280.4 million rand. This massive figure is the climax of this entire planning process, because the public spoke up about infrastructure and sanitation through those official channels we just talked about. The city allocated a whopping $280.4 million directly for upgrading informal settlements. That is real money targeting real localized needs.
And then we have this number, 80 million rand. Remember how 100% of the wards complained about potholes and stormwater? Well, this R80 million is strictly dedicated to road reconstruction. This right here proves that participating in the public planning process is not a waste of time. It results in massive financial action to fix the exact potholes the community pointed out. It is the one plan literally hitting the pavement.
So this brings us to a final question for you to chew on. What would you prioritize in your own ward? We've just seen how the Mangaung 2023-2024 framework took a totally fractured system, forced departments to align through the district development model, and then legally bound their budget to the clear voices of their citizens. So if your local municipality is going through its planning process, what issues would you fight for? Because as we've seen, your voice, when it's properly channeled, might just direct the next 80 million rand.